Welcome to A New Voice in Coaching, where we discuss the new innovations coaching is bringing to our world. Whether you're a coach or interested in coaching, whether you are a leader in your business, organization, or home, here we have authentic conversations around the practical tools coaching is bringing to every area of life and culture around us. Welcome to The New Voice in Coaching. My name is Connie Jacob.
Hey, I'm Abe Brown. Welcome to this little program where we're going to be talking about some of the new voices that are out there in the field of coaching, life coaching, executive coaching, business coaching, leadership coaching, wellness coaching, you name it. If it talks about coaching, that's what we're talking about.
And Abe, this is so exciting because it's a whole new market in coaching. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, because you're the founder?
Yeah, so we, are a company, an organization called Certified Flourishing Coaching, and we just launched actually in the middle of the pandemic. Great time to start a business, and the idea is to bring a new voice or a new perspective to coaching. So I've been in the coaching space professionally since 2008. So I think that either makes me old or just I've hung around for a long time. Prior to that, I actually began my career as a pastor in a church, and then for a number of years, I was a registered therapist, and then I went through, a major transition in my life and did a number of years in the business world, and then in nonprofit leadership, at both at the executive level and also at the frontline level, working particularly in the fields of mental health and addiction and poverty. And so, with sort of all of that as the background, in 2008, I launched a coaching company. And I was also asked to be the president of, at that time, one of the largest coach training and certification organizations in the world. And so I worked with them up until 2021, so 13 years. And over that time, I trained and certified about 8,000 people in 20 different countries.
Wow. So you have quite the background in coaching. And what led you to the concept of flourishing, to launch a coaching business with that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we discovered, along the way is that, like any industry, right, coaching is evolving. And of course, we're not driving the same cars that Henry Ford was driving, right? And nor should we be coaching the same way we were in the 80s or the 90s or, the early 2000s. And so I think when coaching started, it was really like what I call problem-based coaching, or you could call it whack-a-mole. Somebody has a problem in their life, maybe it's in their marriage or their finances or raising their kids or their business or their leadership, and you sit with a coach and it's just, let's solve the problem. Let's just whack them all. And of course, that is really ineffective because oftentimes your problem is not actually your problem. Oftentimes the problem that you're experiencing is really just a symptom of something that's deeper. And so as coaching evolved, it went through a number of different iterations where people were trying to figure out, how do we actually help people? Like if you talk to anyone who's in coaching, I can guarantee you they're not in it because there's a ton of money at the table. They're in it because they genuinely want to help people. They want to help organizations. And so what we believe in Flourishing Coaching is that coaching has now evolved to a lot more of a psychology-based model where we're tapping into neuroscience. How does the brain operate? How do people think? And how can we allow them to have a process that creates sustainable, transformative change, right? People don't want to have a coach forever. They don't want to have a therapist forever. They want to be able to deal with their issue, activate their potential and step into a new reality and then stay there, right? No matter what area we're talking about, be it wellness or leadership or career or, running an organization. And so that's really our sort of starting point in Certified Flourishing Coaching.
Yeah, that's fantastic because a lot of people right now are wanting to know, how do I really support others? Because where we're at with the pandemic, there's a lot going on. And so with this model, what is really different about it from, say, counseling? If somebody was like, wait a minute, aren't you just a coach? What's that scope of practice look like?
Such a great question, and I might step on some toes here today, and of course that's not my intention, but for a number of years I was a registered therapist, and I have nothing but respect for the profession. I do think that when we have the conversation, and it's a broad conversation, it's a conversation we need to have about mental health, unfortunately, like so many areas, we have seen some gatekeepers emerge, people who position themselves as we're the experts on mental health, and no one else is allowed to have voice to that. And I think it's created two problems. One problem is these experts, there's just not enough of them. So you talk to anyone who has a mental health crisis, if they're trying to find a psychiatrist or a psychologist that they actually connect with, that they actually feel they're getting something out of, it's few and far between. But the other problem is access, right? People don't have the cash to pay the exorbitant fees that, of course, would go to these quote-unquote recognized experts or gatekeepers. And it's not that for 1 second I'm opposed to those, because absolutely when you're talking about severe diagnosable mental health issues, that's the way to go. But the vast majority of people with their mental health, it's actually quite fluid. There's a spectrum, right? And so I wake up today, I feel great, but maybe tomorrow I wake up and I'm wrestling with that depression, and I'm maybe thinking about, how I can medicate my pain, self-medicate my pain. And you might say, well, what does this have to do, say, with leadership coaching? Well, your capacity to manage stress and anxiety has a massive amount to do with how you treat people, your level of emotional intelligence, how you're engaging at the organizational scale. And so I think the tragic thing is, as at the same time as we have increased the conversation about mental health, which needs to happen, we've destigmatized that. We've also simultaneously set up gatekeepers where people feel like if I don't go to these recognized, sort of professionals, then I'm not going to get mental health help. And I can tell you that that is not accurate, right? You and I, most of us, can actually learn the skills and the techniques to build our own mental health without having to go see a psychiatrist or to get on medication. Now, again, I want to qualify everything. If you have a severe diagnosis and you need medication, then stay on your medication. If you are a person who is really wrestling with chronic, depression or psychosis, then you need a medical response, be it through a psychiatrist or a psychologist. But again, most people, that's not the case. And they're wrestling with, how do I, raise my kids better? How do I manage my money better? How do I, support the people in my organization? And for that, that's the magic of Flourishing, because we have tapped in with a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, university professor, PhD, who has helped us unpack the essential elements of human flourishing through a psychological lens. And then we've taken that and we've fused it together with literally decades of coaching experience into a model that then any coach can learn and employ that will support their clients' mental well-being.
So what does that look like? Because I'm pretty sure listeners are intrigued with this idea and maybe a little provoked. What do you mean I don't need to go see a counselor? That's not what you're saying. You're saying that, sure, there might be times, that spectrum of mental health that you mentioned. So if someone said, I need to get a coach for my languishing, what does that look like? What kind of process would a Flourishing coach take someone through?
Yeah, so, we have this incredible tool that's been developed with our one of our partners who is named Dr. Wayne Hammond, who is a clinical psychologist and has been in the game for over 35 years. And he's actually developed a questionnaire that can assess a person's current level of flourishing. So how are you doing? Not with the lens of what's wrong with you, but actually what's right about you. So the goal here is it's not about diagnosis. Again, we'll leave diagnosis to the psychiatrist, but what this is about is providing measurement. How am I doing? What's really working well? But what are some areas of opportunity? And so it's built around what is called the 10 core competencies for flourishing. So flourishing is not about where you were born. It's not about how much money you have in your bank account. It's about a series of skills that you develop. Resilience is one of them. Emotional intelligence is another one. The ability to problem solve is another. And if you have these 10 core competencies in your life, then the research shows that you tend to thrive in your relationships. You tend to thrive in your own sense of psychological well-being. And in your career, you're crushing it because you have the kind of mindset that allows you to operate at the highest level. So we teach our coaches that process. And then, what does that look like from the perspective of now bridging those gaps? Because if there are gaps, let's say in my emotional intelligence, well, this is not, it sucks to be me. I guess I didn't win the genetic lottery. Emotional intelligence is a skill that I can actually cultivate. A growth mindset is a skill that I can cultivate. The ability to problem solve, I can cultivate that skill. And that's what we teach our coaches to support their clients through.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's really radical to start with what's right about someone rather than what's wrong. And a lot of times, at least in mental health practices that I've experienced, and maybe you've experienced too, is this idea of, oh, what's wrong with me? I'm anxious. Therefore, we're going to fix. We're going to come in and repair the anxiousness. But the focus is on what's wrong. Whereas, tell us a little bit about this radical approach to what is right about us.
Well, it's so cool to be building or standing on the shoulders of others, because by no means are we the pioneers in this space. I mean, back to, the sort of, I guess you could say, the forerunners in the field of positive psychology, everybody from Dr. Corey Keyes to Dr. Martin Seligman. You can see this idea that, at least Dr. Seligman has said that a lot of modern psychology and psychiatry has actually become about a disease model. So let's fix what's wrong with you. And, I think that part of that is just human nature. Like, we love to try to analyze, well, what's wrong with me, or what's wrong with my wife, or what's wrong with my boss. And yet, the problem is you're starting from the place of disempowerment. Yeah. You're not building on strength. And so here's the thing. There's a heck of a lot more right about you than wrong. There's a lot more that's good about you than bad. And there's a lot more that's positive than negative. Now, we don't want to minimize the negative, but if I can celebrate and be affirmed for who and what I am today, what's working well, now I'm going to operate with an empowered mindset to deal with the stuff that's holding me back. And I do want to deal with the stuff that's holding me back. So, for some of our clients, they don't need any real help with the sense of affirmation. They're already feeling positive. So then this tool is great because it shows them exactly what they need to focus on to optimize growth. But a lot of people today, especially, the pandemic has disempowered people. People are scared. People are confused. They don't know where to turn. And our sort of theory is start within, build on what's working about you, because there's a heck of a lot that's right about you. And then from there, you can begin to elevate and impact the areas that you still need to grow.
I think that is so important, especially with parents, because how many times do parents think everything we've done wrong? I mean, guilt is kind of our second emotion. I'm pretty sure leaders, employees, even youth. You think about all the youth out there right now who are constantly reminded of what is not working in their lives. So this is really revolutionary. This is why this is called the new voice in coaching, because it really is a new voice. It's adding something to the conversation and it's evolving. And where do you want to see this go?
Well, we launched formally in July of 2021. We trained and certified a group of people who were already a part of our sort of association, I guess you could say. And then we went public in October. So we've already seen, a couple hundred people go through our training program in about 10 different countries. We're expanding. We expect that we'll continue to grow and certify people in this coaching methodology. So if you're an existing coach and you're watching this today, we don't want you to in any way get rid of your coaching certification. We want you to build on it, but this could be a way to add to it, right? Where you have a new set of tools in your already awesome toolbox that can simply help you to support your clients better. But for those of you who are considering coaching as a potential field of practice, maybe it's something that you're passionate about, helping people, I'll tell you, this is an exceptional training for you. So both really experienced coaches and brand new coaches, this works. We have a 2-day intense training model, but we also have 10 different types of coaching certification. So, each one of these, from wellness coaching to leadership coaching to business, and each of these is an intense 2-day training with some pre-work and some work after the 2 days. But that gives you a sense in which this is pretty attainable within a reasonable period of time.
Which is so doable. That's my favorite part, is it makes it accessible to anyone who wants to help somebody else.
Yeah, totally. And the thing that we're faced with in today's world is, in the thousands of people I've trained and certified as a coach, we have trained and certified everything from, high-level corporate CEOs to social workers who wanted a new set of tools in their toolkit, to therapists, psychologists, and psychiatrists who wanted to lean more into a coaching model to hairdressers and massage therapists who are spending all day talking and listening and just wanted to enhance their toolkit, to parents who are thinking about, boy, how do I support my kids better, right? So this isn't just for professional coaches. This also, I think, creates opportunity for people who are considering a deeper dive just in terms of optimizing their people skills, right?
Right, yes. So if you're interested and curious about this new voice in coaching, you can visit our website at certifiedflourishingcoach.com. And I just want to say thank you, Abe, for being here today.
Hey, thank you. Absolutely. Great to connect. And please do reach out, folks.